Volkswagen is investing 6 billion euros in the next 5 years in electric mobility. Next to the compact Volkswagen ID, which will be the first all-electric vehicle on the new electric building platform, there will also be an SUV or a crossover, and that is this one. This is the Volkswagen ID Crozz, and it's somewhat what you could say today an electric Tiguan Coupe. Well, what it is really, what are the features, and also talking to the head of design of Volkswagen, Klaus Bischoff, with a very interesting interview. Everything of that today on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars. Today with me, with Thomas. So exterior, interior, and all the features, and a lot of great insight into the new technologies. Of course, as always, in full HD, full screen, and full length. Let's go. The exclusive color is called Hibiscus Red, and you can see this SUV or crossover design already at the front with a strong front, of course all closed for better wind efficiency, and you do not need the cooling of the electric engine to that extent as you would need for an internal combustion engine. Special, of course, the LED light signature. Here those headlights, they are really open. You can see I can place my hand in there. Probably in the real vehicle, it will also have a glass layer for more protection. And then about this horizontal light strip and also the illuminated Volkswagen logo. The question is also, are you actually allowed to do that as a manufacturer? I will ask Klaus Bischoff about that, because they really want to bring that on the road as it is right here now, from the visual perspective, playing with light. But will they be allowed to? Let's hear about that later. 4.62 m or 15'2" is the total length of this crossover, and this is exactly, somewhat the length of a Volkswagen Tiguan, so this compact or mid-size SUV class. And you can see it's not really with this, edgy design. It has this floating roof, so more an SUV crossover coupe. It's not exactly said that it will exactly come this way, but we'll also ask Klaus Bischoff about that, what we can expect. But I can already tell you so far, it is not that far from reality. What about the schedule? 2020 is this one here scheduled, so this will be the second vehicle then on the all-new MQE, the modular building platform for the electric vehicles. First of all will be the normal Volkswagen ID, without the Crozz. After it, the normal Volkswagen ID will be something like the Golf is today for the normal cars, but as an electric vehicle. Then more design features here, 21-inch alloys, really huge of course, always with concept vehicles. Then there are no side mirrors, there are cameras right here, and then you will have the image of that on the inside where you usually have the normal mirror. Then with this rugged look in the lower part, but here this is no real plastic, this is also hard stuff, it's just basically a different paint, also interesting aspect for sure. Those pads here will be the door openers, so there are also no handles. This again increases the wind efficiency. And the glass roof falling down right here, you can see those small round illuminated sensors, so they are also showing us the sensors. Just 4 sensors of many more this car has. Of course, they are combining different sensor technologies, radar, camera, laser. In future, when you also want to prepare for autonomous driving, you have to bring all of those sensors together. But the question is rather not if they can actually drive it autonomously, if they are allowed to again, how will regulations evolve? From a technology standpoint, this car will be able to drive fully autonomously in 2020. Then, looking at the axles, what about technology? You will have an electric motor both in the front and in the rear axle, then giving you all-wheel drive. This one here is aimed to about 500 kilometers of range from the current driving cycle. That would be around 350 real range, electric range. 300 horsepower altogether. And for a cheaper entry version, there will also only be a rear-wheel drive engine. So you have then this electric motor just in the rear. And this one then supposed to be really affordable, not a 100,000 Tesla Model X, for example. It is said that this one could, in the base version, even be below 40,000 euros. And that would surely be groundbreaking then. What do you think? The rear has a very futuristic shape. Again, with the LED light signature, everything is basically dissolving somehow. This rear wing is really needed to get some more drag to the rear. Then again, the illuminated VW logo and the ID badge here, which will be then for the electric vehicles. What is also interesting, I mean, the rear surely looks like it could belong to a sports car. But overall, of course, it really looks like, a little bit more bulkier crossover. But from the driving dynamics, due to the sandwich building platform, it means the heavy battery will be placed in the very bottom. This vehicle here, they've already tested it, and Volkswagen says it will be as agile as a Golf GTI, although it is bigger, heavier and everything. But due to the equal weight distribution and the low center of gravity, is expected to be a very sporty driving experience. So you can open the doors by touch right here. However, they will also want to make it available with a voice command that the door can also be opened. It is also working basically, but the question is, will it only work from the outside or from the inside? What about sound quality? What about noise? They're still working on that, but an interesting idea. You can see here that the door is opening really 90 degrees, allowing an easy entry. Then illumination here around the door is very well done. Leatherette is being used, material mixed with fabric here. And the thing is, you don't see any plain black plastic. And I think that's what we're also heading towards. More fabric use, making a cozy atmosphere. Felt in the lower part. We recently seen it also in the Volvo XC40. That felt is also used in a steel production car. You can also make it from recycled materials, for example, to even more increase the sustainability. And ta-da! Also Thomas-proof seats with fabric, and then this plush-like design or microfiber on the inside. Really looks very cozy, and so you can again use sustainable materials, maybe even from recycling materials, and to create a very cozy living room environment. This also has some Scandinavian touch for sure, from inspired by Scandinavian furniture. To me, that's what it looks like, also with those, those gray style, and I think it really looks amazing. And it's also very comfortable indeed. And you do have this lounge atmosphere. There's a lot of room here in the front. We have this panoramic roof, which has a very interesting play with those light dots. We will clear in the interview how this one here works, because it's somehow like a star roof, really very interesting. The steering wheel, we also know that from the beforehand Volkswagen ID concept, not in the crossover. This one here is, I would say not really super optimized for an agile driving. I think it will be a little bit different than in the real vehicle. This one here is more optimized for the concept, because this concept here is also optimized and for the autonomous drive. That, for example, in situations where you want to make it fully autonomously, you can move around here more freely, maybe put a laptop on a tablet or something like that. And no buttons, you can't see anything from button-wise here. I can see directly into a head-up display, which is in a demo mode, showing me the speed and the charging capacity of the battery at the moment in my line of sight. So I don't need a big screen here, for example, and everything really seamless here, integrated with the leatherette use, for example. And here, it's just now schematics but this one here will then be the screen for the rear view that you can really see it. Now, of course, in the studio you can only see white because the studio is all white and with light and so on. If this one becomes reality, I'm not so sure yet, but I think it's again a very interesting approach. And one thing is, it's an electric building infrastructure, this whole architecture, so you can move around in the vehicle basically easier. There's no middle tunnel or something like that. So it's also for me not too hard to switch to the next seat. Also a lot of room here for your feet. In the lower part here, for example, there's another display available, or you can put smartphone here. This one would be thought for beverage holders, for example. This felt mats you will be able to take out. It's also an interesting design idea. And again, microfiber middle arm console. And maybe you can have also a good chatting position here, with driver and co-driver. Again, I can just stress really great design work also with the seats. So that's it here for the front cockpit. One last aspect, if you look at those inside panels, we've covered that in interior specials. Also no buttons, it's also capacitive. You touch with your finger on it, then can close the door, open the door, use the windows and even control the climate. But here it will also be possible to change the climate then just via voice command. Now let's take a look at the rear compartment, also with a touch opening mechanism. Again, this sliding door is still somewhat concept-like, therefore it's also quite loud from this small electric motor. But this is also an interesting idea. We've seen it also with the compact ID concept, here also for the ID Crozz, that we have this whole lounge setup again, and you have also an easy entry for the rear seats. So this is really about, offering a better choice to get in the vehicle. And again, 2 single seats in the rear, then you have this exclusive setup. So basically here, it will be almost the same when you sit in the rear or in the front. And this is, I think, a very interesting approach for sure. So we can also test about the length here, how much space I have here. Of course, you can also, push the seat front and back, but I think it was an interesting position for me. Here enough knee room also. I'm 1.86 m or 6'1". This still leaves some headroom because the glass roof is not falling down too much here yet. So it's also an interesting seating position right here. I think for the rear vehicle, I would prefer that maybe the seats would be a little bit higher. Then I don't have, the same angle. But the thing is, with the concept cars, they also try to put it as flat as possible. So I would expect that it would be a little bit higher than for the rear vehicle. But other than that, it's again a very spacious feeling here in the rear. Also when you look to the front, in direction of the display, for example. So I really like this lounge atmosphere and the design of the concept car. So really amazed by that. And I will again ask Klaus Bischoff how close this one will really be to reality. By the way, I'll soon let Jonas here, our cameraman, to see the trunk, because it also seems quite feasible. As for the luggage space, again, when there will be a version that is maybe not that flat in the rear, you will also not be that limited in height. When now Jonas gets inside, you can take a look, because we have to do it from here, as this concept here, at the moment, you cannot open the rear hatch. It's all hand-built and more, of course, for demonstration purposes. But from there, you can also see how much space there is in the rear. Quite good dimensions, again, limited in the height because of this coupe concept. But you can very well imagine that this vehicle here, because there's so much less technical parts from the combustion engine you have to put in the vehicle, you have, again, then more room. Why would you actually need a front hood? Well, yeah, for design purposes. And also, well, there's less combustion engine parts, but there are more sensors and, parts for that the head-up display is working and stuff. And those things you would then, for example, put under the hood, use the space you have there then for those new parts you need with such vehicles. And now joining us, Head of Design, Klaus Bischoff. Of course, we want to know, and a lot of our viewers, how close is this concept to reality?
Very close, I would say. At least the exterior is pretty close to what you will see on the road in, some years, 3 years, 2.5 years.
So about the design language, you really have to think about how you can create electric mobility for the masses. As it's, it's not supposed to be a Tesla for 100,000 euros. It's also supposed to be affordable. So what do you have to take into account when you design an electric vehicle also for a mass market?
Yeah, we have to be, first of all, attractive and functional. We want to create a product that stands out. That says I'm electric, and that offers to the customers a well-combined package. Enough mileage, enough torque and power, a very suitable interior, very large interior, on a small footprint. So typical Volkswagen, very functional. Now with a new design approach, we want to attract people with our new electric vehicles. So here you go.
So size-wise, this could actually be an electric Tiguan. And will you actually bring this one rather as a crossover, as we see it here right now, or will it be Tiguan, with a classic SUV ending?
Now there will be no classic SUV ending as you see it today on the market. Although I have to admit that this car will come to the market, but a bit later. The first product will have a little bit different roof style, but very fluent, very rakish and coupe-ish. But this coupe-like styling will be the second car that goes to the market then.
And let's talk about some details. We've seen the lighting signature, also, the illuminated VW logo, or for example, the horizontal strip that goes from the left to the right. And as we talked about it with the Volkswagen ID, with a small electric vehicle, there are some regulations, maybe not allowed to do it on every market. Have you been working on this issue, and will it maybe be possible to see it in the future, really on the roads and also legal?
Yeah, we of course dream of it, and we are in negotiations with the
different governments or regulation offices.
Yeah, with the regulation offices. In the moment the chances are relatively good that in some markets we can do it. We will provide it, and we will at least have this horizontal light signature throughout the whole facial expression.
Nice, because I think you would agree that this really adds some design to the car for sure. What I've also seen, that you are also designing with sensors now, that because so far you tried to hide the sensors, that no one can see it. But here, you're also playing with design, with the sensors. Will this something be really a core new design element that you can say, here, those are our sensors, and look at them?
Yeah, if we can manage to integrate them as well as we proposed it here, we can make them a visible design element. But that's something for the future. Yeah, we in the moment work hard to integrate all sensors that are a necessity for automated driving. So let's see how the final solution will look like. But at least we have a vision how we would like to bring it to the market.
And the very most favorite question of Brian is always, when he talks to Klaus Bischoff, what about the rim size? Which rims would you go for? And which size will really get on the market?
Yeah, you can look at it.
It's 21 inch at the moment.
Yeah, so that's what comes to the market.
So that's your personal suggestion?
Suggestion, decision.
Ah, okay. So if you buy this vehicle, if you want to have the Klaus Bischoff stamp on it, 21 inch, that's it.
Exactly.
And now let's also take a look with Klaus Bischoff at the interior. First of all, I just mentioned it also what I realized, at Autogefühl, you probably know that we are always about sustainable seating materials, also alternative to leather. And obviously you've taken this one here into account with this car, with this plush and fabric, different designs. So is this something you have been thinking about over the last years, that you also, especially with an electric vehicle, introduce new sustainable materials in the interior?
Yeah, absolutely. We look deep into all possibilities to create a sustainable interior, from the material side. Of course, we do this, yes.
What new challenges does it bring to the interior, and maybe you have even more room to play with the design, with the new concept you have here? So which direction is it? Is it harder for you actually, or is it easier for the design?
I wouldn't call it harder. I would call it a challenge, a big chance also, because the new packages, the new technologies allow us to shift volumes, to create a new experience, and that is what we are looking for. We want to create a new feeling when you enter the car. We want to come up with a new architecture of interface devices. We want to push away volumes. We want to make this a living room, a living space, to seat our customers in comfort and style, and to reduce the complexity to the maximum.
So I can't see any real button left here. So there's no button at all. I mean, even not for the warning indicator. So you really try to be buttonless.
Yeah, this is what we are aiming for, to wipe away any buttons, to be fully touch operated and fully intuitive. That's our aim. Let's see what we can get in the end. But so far we made big steps ahead, and only a few buttons are left, and only those that the regulation departments are demanding.
There are some car customers who are a little bit afraid of the change, and who, for example, say, I really want to turn my AC knob right and left, and just with touch, I don't feel really comfortable with it. How can you actually also convince those customers that you have something better maybe to offer?
Yeah, I think the solution is in the experience and in the functionality. If you are able to talk to the car and ask it to create a warmer climate or a cooler climate, and you don't need to take your hands off the wheel, then I think that is something that is at least a good offer to the customer. Touch operation leads to simplification, and simplification allows us to create much more complex features and to change them over time. A knob is a knob, it sits in the car and I can't change it. Touch device I can update, I can evolutionize the UI, I can create different solutions, I can offer other functionalities over the lifespan of the car. So there are advantages for the customer as well.
That's a really interesting aspect, definitely, because the over-the-air changes was something where the whole industry is actually aiming for. Maybe you can show us like one or two favorite features here in the interior for just personal favorite features.
So one of my favorite features is a retractable steering wheel. I touch it for 3 seconds and then it dives into the dashboard. Of course, we have to work on the mechanical side and on the sound side, but then I have plenty of room to sit in comfort while the car is going into automatic driving mode.
So you would take out a piece of paper and then do next sketch?
Read newspaper, or I can do a sketch, or
watch Autogefühl on your mobile phone.
An example, yeah. Fantastic. Good idea.
And I've also seen the special sealing here. So what have you done here? Because those are not single lights.
No, this is laser engraved into the glass, and the light source is on the side. So this is giving a big sensation when you're traveling in the night, that you have this skylight enhanced with these lighted dots, so very attractive.
Great.
And that is something that we are considering also for series production.
Thank you so much for the insight.
You're welcome.
And now to our conclusion for today, the Volkswagen ID Crozz concept. If this will really become a reality, sure, the brand is basically reinventing themselves, because from the exterior we see new design elements which are basically uncommon for Volkswagen design language so far. Yet in some other elements it's still an evolution, so I think it's a mix of both. Also this, SUV coupe, they haven't done that before. The T-Roc goes a little bit in that direction at least. From the interior, I think it's really interesting to see this lounge setup. So this will give you a whole new experience when being in the interior of the vehicle. I think visually and also from the concept here, really very well executed. I would actually be looking forward to see this one here as a real car on the road. Of course, they are later than others with the electric vehicles. That's basically almost the same for all of the classic manufacturers. I mean, at the moment they have the e-Golf as the electric vehicle, or the e-Up as those two pure electric vehicles. But of course, the electric cars only make real sense when they were built and meant to be the electric vehicles. At the moment, they still have this concept: we take the normal vehicle, make it electric. BMW has the BMW i range, where they made them, just a pure electric vehicle from, where the i8 is a hybrid, but the i3 is a pure electric vehicle on their own platform. BMW is now going backward a little bit, wanting to do an electric 3 Series. So again, I think the industry is not really sure yet which concept to follow. Really adapting them to the normal cars or making them pure electric. Volkswagen obviously has decided which way to go. They are taking this fully electric approach and try to use the advantages that this approach then will offer the customer, for example, with more room here on the inside. And then, of course, designers can also play a little bit more around with material and the room they have. And, of course, integrate new technologies, for example, to make it buttonless. Surely so many things to discuss here on exterior, interior and technology-wise. Of course, I would be looking forward to see your feedback to this very vehicle. Let's discuss this in every single detail, because there's really, one of those concepts where you can really say a lot about. And that's, what I also very like. And also, I found it very refreshing that Klaus Bischoff, in contradiction to other car CEOs, when sometimes you say, our car is great and our car is great and our car is great. No, with Klaus Bischoff, we always get to know some more features about the vehicle, some more background info we didn't know before. I think it's also pretty useful for you as a viewer that, when an expert speaks openly, frankly, about something, that really gives you more value and not only praising the vehicle. So thank you so much for joining us here today in Autogefühl, and also tune in next time.